you foundlings, to another episode of the most disorganized podcast. Oh, I'm muted.
No, but it was when you started.
Oh, how much did I miss?
About half of it, dude.
Okay, run it back. All right. Hello there, all you bucketheads, and welcome, all you foundlings, to another episode of the most disorganized podcast on the internet. You can tell we're disorganized because sometimes we forget our mics are off. If you like what you see here today, don't forget to like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe to Under the Helmet Podcast. Join that Discord. Follow us on Instagram. Every week we do a prompt on Instagram, giving people a chance to be featured in the video. We didn't get much feedback this week. That's okay. People have been busy. We had a ton of good feedback on our last two videos. So if you want to give a feedback and you want to appear in the Hothbreaker part of the episode, either leave a comment or you got to follow us on Instagram.
To be fair, this one was kind of on us. We gave people all of today instead of the whole week. That
is true. It's been a very busy week. I've had a lot of stuff going on with work, so
it has, and I've been just kind of swamped. But we're here. We made it. We always try and make it to stream come day of.
We're ready.
We're here and back with more Under the Helmet for you.
Which is why you got to follow us on Instagram so you keep updated.
Mm-hmm. And the Discord. Don't forget to join that Discord.
Yep, don't forget to join that Discord. Links all in the down there's.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said,
in every video, I make those descriptions myself.
But with that being said, today's episode topic was one that came to us. We were discussing last week. Mm-hmm. What were we going to do for a topic? And we said, you know what? It's June. It's Pride Month. And with the way that legislation has been going in this country and the way that a lot of anti-LGBTQ laws have been passed and so on, we thought it would be important to use the, albeit very tiny, platform we have to discuss Pride Month, and what that means and what that means to us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be a little different than our normal content, but I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited to put this out there. So
I'm always happy when we get to sit down and like talk about stuff from outside of, fandoms, which, Pride itself, it gets into the fandoms as well, because, Pride is a part of who we are. I would like to say that there's more people who are part of the LGBTQ community than those who aren't, because it does include allies. And allies are a very important part of the LGBTQ community. We've got you yourself, Dylan.
Ally.
We have also actually one of our favorite people that we have within our Wonders Under the Helmet community, Callahan, my dear friend, who did the art for this week's episode. I wanted to share that as well. Callahan has just always been an incredibly supportive friend, incredibly supportive ally. So I did want to give a shout out to Callahan this week, especially for doing the art for our thumbnail. Dude, we really appreciate everything you do. So from the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you so much. It's, I don't know, the LGBTQ community it's this massive thing. And it can be a very wonderful place. Because you can find a lot of the support that, a lot of people growing up may not have found, either within their family units or their organizations that they were a part of. And so in this community, you can find some of that support. And I really, I myself enjoy that. I know, at least as far as, I don't know how in depth we want to go. But honestly, we didn't make a huge schedule for tonight. So
I have some topics I want to hit on.
Okay.
Plan.
I know that we I know we were going to touch history, and I was actually just earlier reading up on some of it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Dylan, I want to see, like the two of us, I imagine we have somewhat similar standpoints on pride. Like, but for you, what does pride mean for you?
So that is the ultimate question. So I am trying to think of a good place to start. I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I was very oblivious to the existence of gay people. I always came from a position of privilege, and I myself am not gay. I am a straight cishet white guy. Like we're, I'm as top of the privilege ladder as I can get. So for me, I guess my first sort of experience was like being in school, and I was different than a lot of the other kids. So I was constantly being called gay and this and that and the other, and like I never understood it. And you know, I'm gonna give a huge shout out to my mom here, because she didn't understand what she was doing. But I went home one day and I remember asking her, I was like, Mom, what does it mean to be gay? Because I got called gay by some kids at school that day and I didn't know what it meant. And my mom was like, oh, that just means you're happy. So me being the very intelligent, socially awkward kid, went to school the next day and somebody called me gay. And I said, well, that means happy. So you're just calling me happy. I bet you feel silly. So that was kind of my first real experience. And I was just watching a really great video.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before stream. It was called How I Went from Being Transphobic to a Trans Ally. And it was a great video. I'll have to send it to you so we can link it. But
Absolutely.
it was another guy who was an ally, and he was talking about his experience where he never really was like exposed to a lot of like his parents weren't like, oh, gay is bad, or like his first experience with gay people was like Elton John.
Okay.
And like growing up from there, and like, okay, so he's gay. I don't know what that means, but okay. And my parents never really discussed what that meant. So we kind of were just like, okay, whatever. And like my parents had gay friends and stuff like that. So it's not like I was unaware. I was just oblivious. And
You
I
didn't
remember
know that was a specific thing.
I didn't think that much into it because it didn't really affect my life. So it didn't really matter. And I remember one day, we had two friends, and they were in the process of getting married. I had no idea that they were in the process of getting married. I didn't even know they were gay. I just thought they were like very open about who they were as people.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day I saw them kiss each other, and I was like, huh? I was like, makes sense, but huh? But it's not always a good story. I definitely went through a phase in my life where I fell down the YouTube alt-right pipeline, and maybe we'll discuss that another day because I don't want to center myself too much in this conversation. But
It's all good.
one of the things that comes with that is the homophobia. So of course I was homophobic. This was also the first time a gay person had an actual crush on me, and that was just shocking. I didn't know how to handle those feelings, so it was very interesting. Luckily, he was a good person. We're still friends now. I was never like terrible, if that makes sense. I kind of kept a lot of that stuff inwards, but implicit biases hurt just as much as an explicit bias.
Right.
And over time, I really grew out of it. And as I've gotten older and developed this radical concept called empathy, I've started to realize, people are people. It doesn't matter. And I went from sort of indifference to allyship when I just started meeting more people and seeing like how, LGBTQ people have been treated, and seeing like, oh, these are people just like us. Why are we making laws saying that they can't do the thing that makes them them? Like, That would be if someone was like, "Hey, we're passing an anti-Star Wars law in the state. You can't watch Star Wars anymore." And it's like, okay, why? It doesn't make sense. So it's a bad example, but it raises the point of something that's fundamental to my identity. If that became illegal, I know how I would feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I also last October worked with a very great company called Southern Screams. Most of the staff and the people that run it are all gay. It's a gay-owned business. They're wonderful. They're great people.
That's amazing.
And
I didn't know that.
I actually this past weekend marched in Charleston Pride with them. So
I saw that.
That was a ton of fun. We had such a great time, and being with them and being surrounded by people, it just sort of furthered this is just people and they're just living their life. So we're all cool. And I do want to say that for anybody out there who's like, being gay is not a get out of jail free card. You still have to be a good person.
Yeah.
But
it's like being anything.
Exactly. It is you are a person first and then everything else after that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it was a wonderful experience, a wonderful company, and shout out to all of them. If you're in the area, I believe they start September this year. So if you want to get scared, come on down.
Nice. Are you planning to work with them again?
I absolutely am. I'm in the process of getting. It's one of those things that as the season gets closer, we start to ramp up. So it'll be very exciting.
Okay.
I'm very excited for that. But yeah, Eli, you want to talk about your experiences?
Yeah. There's a lot.
Hit it.
So let's see. I did not have I'm trying to think where to start. I
know, I get you.
Right, because you have to like dial back all the way to the beginning. Because for me, I've been openly bisexual at least since like late junior year of high school. It's been a while. I mean, we're coming up on like at least 5 years now. That this has just been such an integrated part of my life that I don't really consider it. I think one of my first, as far back as I can remember, one of my first experiences with just gay people in general actually came from a book that I was reading at the time. A book by the title of The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. And I love that book. I love the author, Mackenzie Lee. She does some amazing work. The book itself has become a series now of 3 novels, the third having just come out last year, as well as a novella, which I absolutely love all of the books. I've read the first 2. I read the novella. They're delightful. But it follows follows Henry Montague, who the main character, he's, at the start he establishes he's been with guys, he's been with girls, he's been publicly rejected because it's Victorian England. So there's that. But at the same time, homosexuality was a lot more accepted throughout certain points of time in history than it is now. Because, fun fact, pirates were gay as hell. Blackbeard had 5 husbands.
I mean, considering that it was a superstition amongst pirates that if a woman stepped foot on your boat, there'd be disaster.
Right. So well, we can't have women. Hey, Steve.
Bring the booty in more ways than one.
Truly. But anyway, I read that book. The men, they kissed, and then they did more than kiss, and I was like, oh, that's
Hello.
neat. I've never read that before.
Achievement unlocked.
And so I read more, and I read more, and I read a lot more than I probably should have at the ripe age of however old I was at that point in time. But that was kind of, I was exposed to all of that. And so when it finally came time for me to I did get to the point where I started questioning my sexuality. It was interesting because it was after I had been in a relationship for 3 years, and the two of us went our separate ways. Not initially well, but we kind of reconciled afterwards, and now they're one of my best friends. They have an amazing art page on Instagram. I'll have to shout out some of their stuff sometime. They're actually in the Discord. They normally go by Taco Muffin online. Incredibly good friend of mine. But we both found out that we were bi at the same time. These things we split off, found out we were bi, and then became best friends over D&D, which is, from what I've gathered, a very common thing for folks in the LGBTQ community. The gays love D&D. I mean, it's a really, really good game.
It's a lot of fun. I remember from my recent D&D experience of my first time, it was a lot of fun. It's not for everybody, but it was a lot of fun when I did it. So
it's good. It's very, very good. And then, so I, figured out I was bi, came to terms with sexuality things around junior year. I'm not gonna lie, I still haven't fully come out to all of my family. And if they're watching this and this is the way that they find out, it's not necessarily even that I didn't feel comfortable telling you, it's that I didn't get around to it. Because for me, at least as far as sexuality and gender identity, I typically don't talk about it a ton, especially with sexuality. If it comes up in conversations, I talk about it. But for me, sexuality is a thing that's between me and my partner. So, am I going to have a bi flag? Yes. And I'm going to be, happily and openly, bi. I'm not hiding that from the world. It's just, for me personally, I don't talk about it a ton. And that's not to say that that's the right or wrong way to do it. It's my way to do it. Ultimately, your gender identity and your sexual orientation is your own. And how you go about expressing it is also your own. And really, people can't tell you what's right or wrong. It's something you have to figure out for yourself. It took a lot of time for me to do that for me. I mean, heck, I only, fully came to terms with my gender identity as non-binary last year sometime. I don't know. Charlie was a great help with that.
It was last June.
Last June? You're kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Hey,
because it was the very end of Pride when you came out to me. I think a week or two before the end of Pride, and then fully came out like a week later.
Oh yeah. I'm not gonna lie, it's simultaneously a massive part of my life and also not, because it's not something I actively think about, if that makes sense. But at the same time, it's not very often that I am feminine presenting, because it's a lot to have a whole wardrobe for both femme and mask. I mean, Gabby and I went to Disney, and I Disney bound with Captain Carter, and that was my first time openly presenting femme in public, and it was amazing. Honestly, hats off to the cast members at Disney more than anyone else, because they're all super supportive of it.
That's awesome.
I mean, even down to the people that are serving food, anyone who was taking pictures was all over it. They loved it. There's one photo that I have of because Gabby and I did Steve and Peggy, and I'm holding my shield up slightly in front of the camera, um, but behind it, the two of us are kissing.
Oh,
Yeah, it was so cute. And the best part
it
is
is.
that like that photographer wasn't even up yet. They were just kind of like taking some practice shots to warm up to. Um, and you're like, hey, I totally understand if you're, if you're not ready or if you're doing something else, but would you mind taking some pictures of it? And she's like, actually, yeah, I'd love to. Um, and it was so fun. So long-winded story. That is what pride means to me. Pride is being able to be yourself and not fearing or worrying the consequences of you know that may come from that because of whoever or whatever people or laws. Pride for me is the ability to be yourself without fear or apology, and I think that's what every human being deserves.
I fully agree with that. One of the things that I really noticed this year, marching in Charleston Pride and getting to be firsthand a part of it, like I marched in a pride parade with my girlfriend. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was one of, and never once did I feel unwelcome or like I didn't belong. And that is one of the beautiful things about pride, is that it makes everybody feel like they belong, and it doesn't matter who you are. What matters is that you are, it's the philosophy of, as long as you're cool, we're cool.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody there was super cool. Everybody there was super nice. One of the things I did was I would walk up to people and I would always compliment them about something, whether it be a shirt they were wearing or a pin or their hair or something like that. And I have never seen such a diverse crowd of people. And there were people walking around with their pride flags around their necks. It was great. But another one of my favorite things was that it wasn't just people that were LGBTQ. There were people out there who were openly autistic. There were people out there, and they were wearing like headphones to help dampen the noise, but they were still like showing their support, and they were just as welcomed, because one of the beautiful things about pride and is that you can be proud of who you are. You don't have to hide that aspect of who you are. And I think this is kind of a good segue into the history of pride and where it comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is so back in, I'm trying to think of a good place to start with this. So
I have the years.
the base of pride, like the modern movement of pride and gay pride, comes from the gay liberation movement, which formed
Stonewall riots.
after the Stonewall riots. There is some debate as to whether or not it should be called the riots, and there's also debate over who threw the first brick. So basically, what is the Stonewall riots? I'm so glad you asked. So the Stonewall riots was, there was a gay bar in New York
Mm-hmm.
City called the Stonewall Inn, and basically it was a place where everybody could come. It was one of those few safe spaces where a lot of times you could arrest somebody, just so you could arrest somebody just for dressing femme. You could arrest for somebody for being a drag queen. You could arrest somebody for not presenting your gender correctly.
It's concerning how close to that we're getting again.
Yes, and what I find interesting about that is that people say, "Oh, well, why are drag queens included in Pride?" Because gender nonconformity. So the reason it's all included is
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just sexual identity; it's also gender identity, and the reason that is because a lot of people in these communities stay very close together. They're a very close knit, small community, and
Oh
when you
yeah.
have there's always the saying, the strength in numbers. So the
Mm-hmm.
smaller a community you have, like there's not a lot of trans people in the world, but trans people, drag queens, and gay people together form a larger group for more visibility.
Especially if you throw in allies.
Absolutely, and that is where you have to take a real intersectional approach. I don't want to go too deep into intersectionality talk, but anyway, back to Stonewall. So basically, what ended up happening was there was so the cops raided the Stonewall Inn and arrested 13 people, and as they were being dragged out to the paddy wagon, they called it, somebody threw a brick at a cop. It's not really known who was the first one. It was some of the reports I said saw that it was a butch lesbian woman. Someone said that it was a black trans woman named Marsha P. Johnson, who is an icon, and I love her very much. So if you have not researched Marsha P. Johnson and you want to get a good piece of if you want to see where intersectionality comes in, Marsha P. Johnson is the best example, because not only is she a transgender woman, she is also black. Her story is amazing to me because of the fact that she had all of these systemic barriers, and when she got up on stage at a Pride event and actually got booed for getting up on stage. And I saw the speech, and she handled it beautifully. She told him to shut the fuck up, and she said, "You're all white, and that I have done so much for this community, and for you to turn your back on me because I'm black and trans is disrespectful, and for you to boo me because of these things is disrespectful for the sacrifices that I made." Like, she was arrested multiple times, she was beaten up by the police constantly, she was jailed multiple times, she lost her home, she couldn't hold a job. Talk about giving it all for a cause. So Marsha P. Johnson, she's a real one. But so basically what happened was this led to a fight breaking out, which eventually turned into a riot. And then this was what spawned the birth of the Gay Liberation Front, which then eventually, for the next year, on the 1-year anniversary of Stonewall, decided we're going to have a march, a march for Pride. I think it was in 1970, if I remember. So that was when the first Pride March happened, which at the time, it was still illegal to be out and be gay. You know, you had to be kind of relegated to the fringes.
Except in Illinois. Illinois started.
Small progressivism, slightly based. But so that's when the first Pride happened. And that was the first Pride March. And Pride parades every year are meant to celebrate, is to remember Stonewall, to remember what it means to live openly with Pride. And having that context, being able to be a part of a Pride parade, was beautiful. And having that historical context now makes it feel more significant of what I did. So I want to answer the next question I've seen a lot of people say. Why is there a gay Pride Month but not a straight Pride Month? Here we go. Plain and simple answer. In the way our society is set up, being straight is seen as the default. It shouldn't be, but that is the way that our society, as it currently stands, is set up.
I'm also going to say, for the most part, you don't get disowned by your family and your community for being straight.
You don't have to come out to your parents as straight. Yep. It just is something that is actively assumed because of what is called heteronormativity, which is where everyone is perceived as straight until proven otherwise, for lack of better phrasing. Straight until proven otherwise. Gender conforming until proven otherwise, and so on and so forth. And you work your way down the line. So, but what is interesting about that concept is it is a number one, it is about visibility and being seen as gay and being perceived and open and out there, because what it does is it does not allow gay people to disappear. And one of the things I've heard a lot of older people says, there never used to be this many gay people. It's because they were hiding. They were
because
hiding
y'all
that part of
actively beat the
themselves.
crap out of them and shot them.
Yes, my parents' gay friend Mr. Ernie has a ton of stories about that.
I was going to say,
Listening
there
to
weren't a
someone,
ton of gay people because you were actively trying to eradicate them.
absolutely, and that's where this ties into the AIDS crisis and all kinds of things like that. Fuck you, Ronald Reagan. Actively fucking the country till this day. How's it going down there, Ronnie? Don't worry, you'll get another one soon. The sanctimonious Mr. Personality transplant. Does that count as gender affirming?
I love that when we started this show, you did not want to talk politics. And look at us now. Look at where we've gotten. Honestly, the best example of character development in modern media. Under that.
I just simply got tired of masking how I felt about things. And they're like, well, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Nowadays, I don't give a fuck.
I think that is truly in the spirit of Pride.
Absolutely. And that is the beautiful thing about Pride, is that you can be out, you can be open, and you can be yourself, and you don't have to worry about what other people think. You don't have to, live your life according to someone else's perception of you. You live your life as you are. And one of the things that I've really appreciated in recent years, and one of the things that I really enjoy about going on TikTok, is seeing a diverse group of voices talking about Star Wars. Because I have a perspective as a straight white guy. Mm-hmm. A black trans woman is going to have a completely different perspective. A Middle Eastern lesbian is going to have a different perspective of me. And what's beautiful about that, and it's always been said that variety is the spice of life. And
keep your spice drawer full.
Absolutely. And that is one of the beautiful things about having multiple perspectives, is being able to hear things that you would not have been exposed to if not for going out and seeking out these spaces. And what's great is that people just want to live their lives, man. Like it's truly that simple. People just want to live their lives. You may not understand. Like, for example, I full disclosure, I do not understand what it means to be non-binary. I understand what people have told me who are non-binary and what their experiences is. But as somebody who is I don't want to say confident. As somebody who was born and identifies with the gender I was assigned at birth, I probably won't ever understand fully what it means to be non-binary or gender non-conforming, because I've never really had to question it. I'm just like, yeah, I'm a guy, I'm a man, plain and simple. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I can't empathize with somebody who is trans or is non-binary. And I'll give a great example of this. I worked at a reemployment office, and I remember talking to somebody on the phone one day, and I talked to this person for like 15-20 minutes to help them resolve their issue. And I remember as we were going to hang up the phone, they said, "Thank you, ma'am. You've been incredible." And they hung up the phone. And I went, huh? Because I will admit, my customer service voice is a little bit higher than my regular voice. But I feel like I have enough bass in my voice to where people can recognize not a woman.
And that sent you spiraling for the rest of the day.
But it was very interesting. No, I didn't send me spiral for the rest of the day. I have that memory because I realized, oh my God, so this is what it feels like to be misgendered. I wasn't angry about it. I was just kind of surprised, and it gave me and I was lucky to have enough empathy to be like, this gives me a window into someone else's existence and experience, to where I may not fully understand, but I can also empathize. I can also think like, hey, this is what that feels like when I accidentally call somebody who's non-binary by the gender they were assigned at birth, or somebody who is trans if you call them the wrong gender. And I also want to say that there is no gay stopo. There is no gender police. If you make a mistake in a conversation with somebody who's non-binary and you accidentally call them she or he instead of they, the gay stopo does not come in from the ceiling and you do not get slammed on the hood by the alphabet mafia. That doesn't happen. It's not real. So please stop fantasizing about I called a person the wrong pronouns and now they want to kill me. That's not what happens. They're gonna be like, hey man, I don't like to be called that. Can you call me this instead? It genuinely is not that deep.
It's a pretty quick conversation. Now that being said, if you're gonna be a dick about it and you're just doing it to upset people, why?
That is one thing that I have never understood is people that think I just want to go out and cause misery for others. Like, how terrible of a person do you have to be to think, you know what? I'm gonna go out and actively make people's lives worse. Why you gotta be like that?
It's pretty sad. It's
truly the saddest. But I also want to say this is not a one and done topic. If you know, for anybody who's watching this video post stream and you want to comment your experiences down below, I will be actively checking comments to make sure that we can talk to people. I feel like this is the beginning of a dialogue, not end all be all. And I think that's wonderful. And I do want to say that anybody, this community is a safe space for everybody. But we do practice the paradox of tolerance. What is the paradox of tolerance? I'm so glad you asked. So the paradox of tolerance is simply if we are not going to tolerate intolerance. If you're going to be a dick, you're going to get blocked. Plain and simple.
I do have ban privileges in the Discord, and I love my mighty hammer. I haven't used it yet. Nobody's given me a reason. I hope they don't.
Block people on Instagram like it's no tomorrow.
Man, the bots on Insta have been merciless recently.
They're relentless. They give us more engagement than anything else. So
really, they do.
I had to delete like 5 of their comments today.
Oh my god! And we posted like right before stream. Well, not right before stream, like during the middle of the day. Like, oh,
nonstop. Promote it here. Promote it there. So I'll pull up Callahan's comment.
Pull up Callahan's comment. Because this is something that honestly so it took me a long time to was getting people's pronouns right. It can be different because if it's not something that you've lived with and grown up around, it's something very new. But honestly, the biggest thing is that you are trying. You are trying to make the conscious effort. If you screw up and you make a mistake, you have to understand, and everyone else is going to understand, you're a human being. The fact that you are actively attempting to acknowledge someone's sexuality, someone's gender identity by using the correct pronouns means vastly more than if you get it right every time. At least that's how I view that personally.
I've had tons of interactions with non-binary people and have just simply used, like, I remember I was having a conversation with one of my good friends, Sid, and I accidentally called them a she, and they waited and they were like they, and I went, oh shit, my bad. And I was like, hey, I'm sorry. And they were like, it's cool. It happens sometimes. And they said, I know you weren't being malicious. And I thank you for correcting yourself. And that's the biggest thing is, and you know, sometimes it can be difficult to talk about people, especially when it comes to there are some non-binary people who don't always present androgynously, which they do not have to do, by the way. If you're non-binary, you dress how you want. Just how anybody can. You know, if you're non-binary, you don't have to dress androgynously. You don't have to dress leaning towards one or the other. Because
gender, we all wish we could look like David Bowie, but it's a lot of work.
It is. The makeup alone.
Oh god, I wish.
That being said, nobody does it quite like Cosplay Annie. They're incredible.
Man, Annie is amazing, and
Annie gives me gender envy. I see their posts and I'm like, damn. I was like, damn, that is a handsome dude. And then I see the title, I'm like, oh my god, that's Annie. Slay.
Yeah, it's I love Annie. Annie's
Shout
delightful.
out cosplay Annie. If you got this far, say hi.
Hi, Annie.
But yeah, so do you have anything else you'd like to conclude on?
As far as pronouns, I mean, I feel like I've, I said, like, ultimately when it comes down to it, if you're trying, you're doing the best that you can, and you are actively making an attempt, that's good. Steps in the right direction are some of the biggest ones that you can take. So
absolutely, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody messes up. But what matters is that you are actively putting in the effort and that you are doing your best.
Mm-hmm. And like me personally, I am non-binary, but I accept all pronouns. Like if you refer to me with whatever, honestly, it's whatever I'm presenting that day. Like at Disney, cast members were referring to me as she and ma'am, and that made my little heart so happy. that was a very big moment for me. Because I remember I was sitting in Pim's test kitchen because I was trying to get Steve Rogers to go for a walk with me, and he did. I got so wildly excited. And one of them, I mean, we're talking like this man linked in my arm, and I was like, "Oh my god, you could sweep me away, and I would follow you." That was a very good day. That was a very good day. Anyway, as far as everything that we have got, be excellent to each other. Now you can't.
Captain America stole my
Which is even funnier because the trip before that, it happened to me.
Listen, I'm just saying, I would understand. So I would understand.
Anyway, be excellent to each other. Be who you are. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate others. And have a wonderful Pride. Is it time for news and rumors?
I do believe it is.
All right. Let's talk about freaking Spider-Man. Not the new one yet.
I have seen Across the Spider-Verse. You have not. You're going tonight. I will happily say I'm not the same person I was at the beginning of that movie. That movie is amazing.
Okay. On a scale of telling Cal that we need to bring tissues and not actually using them to
don't need tissues.
You don't need tissues?
No, you don't really need tissues.
Okay.
It's looking back on it, it's very like it gets started and then it doesn't stop. It's incredible. It is so worth it. I'm very much the cynic that says I can't give something a 10 out of 10, but I give it a 10 out of 10.
All right.
Genuinely and truly. There's I can't say much without spoiling, but let me tell you, it is.
Don't say nothing. Don't be saying nothing.
Phenomenal. And also the reel I sent you earlier was not a spoiler, by the way.
Okay,
cool. It was a meme that came out post-release or pre-release.
Okay.
So it's not a spoiler. I promise.
Cal did in fact bring oh geez. Oh my goodness, it's been a second. I forget what we were seeing. Oh my god, I feel off. Yes, Guardians. Oh my god. No, I needed tissues for Guardians. I sobbed at the end of that movie. Cal was right there with me. I was actively trying not to. But when Dog Days Are Over played and everything happened, it all broke loose, and then I also cried on the car ride home because it played again in the car.
So Erin's not a comic book fan,
Mhm.
and she loved it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, show that you and Erin might like, because I just finished season 1 of it. Gabby and I finished it, and the show is so good. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur.
Okay.
It follows Lunella Lafayette. She is canonically the smartest person in the Marvel Universe at the ripe age of 9.
Eat your heart out, Reed Richards.
Reed Richards, Doctor Doom, Tony Stark, like
I'm interested.
the smartest person in the Marvel comics universe at this time is a 9-year-old woman of color from the Lower East Side of New York.
Hell yeah. I will say I'm interested. But I actually have a news and rumors. I posted it on our page a few days ago. But
Oh, are we talking about
changed the name of Captain America 4.
Yes, we did. Yes, they
no
did.
longer New World Order. Thank God. It is what, Brave New World?
Brave New World. It is not Serpent Society once again.
Wah, wah. No Serpent Society for you. Yes, Callahan sent me the news, and I was genuinely so excited. I immediately sat there and played Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill and laid on the floor and cried. It was phenomenal. 10 out of 10. Also, Harrison Ford.
Yeah. That's going to be something.
Ford. That's all I'm going to say. I can't wait for the interviews of him to come out.
Oh my God, that's going to be...
I can't wait for the interviews.
All right. I got 9 points.
Hit it.
All right. Starting things off. Officially, Disney has allowed Marvel Studios to make upcoming R-rated works for adults movie. Here's a list of upcoming works that are expected to carry this age classification. Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Daredevil Born Again.
Ooh.
Deadpool 3.
Ooh.
The Punisher. And finally, a series we haven't heard anything about in a while, Marvel Zombies. Yes. Also, happy Ghostbusters Day, everyone. It's a very good day, and I'll get to that point at the end because I can't stop talking about it. Anyway, I'm going to contain myself. Reportedly, from Sony, a live-action Miles Morales Spider-Man film is in the works. They've decided, okay, we've messed around. We're actually going to make a Spider-Man movie now instead of, side characters. We've done the DCEU thing, and now we're going to make a movie about a main character. We're going to do it this time. I promise.
We've done we tried the DCEU thing. It didn't work. So now we're just going to continue our process of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And let me tell you, Miles Morales is stuck every time. So if they screw up the live action movie, I'm going to be very sad.
I don't think they will. I think this movie alone proves that Miles is in very good hands.
I think so. Oh, delightful news for Apple users. Okay. Apple has announced that they will stop autocorrecting the word fuck and fucking to duck and ducking.
Lame.
So, needless to say, that is one big ducking problem that is no longer on our hands, and I'm very happy to hear that.
Imagine being an Apple user.
I'm about to throw my phone through my screen to your redacted location.
Hey, too bad your screen would crack.
Actually, no, this thing's indestructible. I've had it for like 6 years. It's an 8+. This thing's essentially a brick. I still have a home button. Brother. Yeah. Also, we have an official date for the Ahsoka series.
I know.
August 23rd.
No, Gabby, baby. I'm not an Apple user. I have an Android. I have green texts. Yep.
The voice actor for Miles is going to attempt to go for live action. I haven't seen the man. I don't know what he looks like. That could probably be really good.
I could see it. I mean, I don't know. He's kind of. It's gonna sound bad. He's kind of old.
I was gonna say Miles is
Old,
typically younger.
14-year-old.
So, my last piece of news that I have, as we are coming up on the last piece of news, is not a piece of news, but an instruction. And it's in regards to Secret Invasion. Marvel has released something instructing us about Secret Invasion. Go to the website, theinvasionhasbegun.com. No spaces. And the password that apparently we are supposed to type in is RSD3PX5N7S. I don't know what it does. But I'm pretty excited.
It calls in a scroll to come and take over your life.
Maybe. I don't know.
They have that Disney money. They can create scrolls to come and take people over.
They were replacing all of the people who don't like who didn't like Phase 4 with scrolls. Surprise.
They are replacing anybody who unironically says the phrase MCU with scrolls. And honestly, we're better off for it.
I was going to say I'd accept that. Yeah. This is a net positive for the world. Oh, it's an extended trailer?
Ooh, interesting.
That's
we may have to check that out later.
Okay.
See, thank you, Callahan, for being our guy in the chair.
Okay.
But yeah, so do we have anything else?
I think that's all we got. Well, my friends, it has come time.
It has. We will watch it on our own, and we will comment on the next episode, Callahan.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe it is time.
It is.
Do you want to send them off?
Gotta warm it up. Thank you, everybody, for joining another episode of the Most Disorganized Podcast on the internet. If you like what you see here today, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe on the Helmet Podcast. Also, don't forget, follow us on Instagram, join that Discord. Trans rights are human rights. We hope you have a very good night. May the force be with you, and we will see you the next time that we go under the helmet. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.